Hello, hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and I am so excited to share with you my Leighton collection. Today I'm going to share with you everything about the 3 patterns in my Leighton collection, from their inspiration to the yarn I recommend using to ways to style the patterns. I hope you'll stick around until the very end of this video, not only because I'll be giving some really fun styling suggestions for the hat and the cowl, but I also want to tempt you to stick around because I'm going to give out a coupon code at the end of the video, and not just one coupon code, but 2. So stick around until the end to find out what those codes are. Let's talk about the inspiration for the Leighton patterns. Every fall I do a mystery crochet along, and at the end of last summer, as I was planning for my mystery cowl, I hit a little bump in the road. I had to completely switch directions with the pattern I was creating and go in a totally different way. At first, I was a little disappointed that the original pattern I had wanted to create wasn't going to work out for this year, but in the end, I'm thrilled I went in this different direction. What I ended up designing was the Olivia cowl. I loved this design from the very beginning, not only because of its unique construction, but also because of its gorgeous textured stitches. And I love this pattern so much that I made 3 of them. 3. Everyone who joined in on the Olivia Mystery Crochet Along really enjoyed the texture of the stitches, and I knew that the stitches of this pattern needed to become a tiered pattern system all of their own. The tier 1 pattern is, of course, a cup cozy. You know I love coffee, and you can never have too many cup cozies. They are super giftable. I also love learning a new stitch in a cup cozy because it allows you to practice in a small project to really perfect the new stitches, and because a cup cozy is so giftable, you can never have too many of them. You know I love a cowl, and for our tier 2, we have the Leighton Cowl. It comes in 2 styles, a tall skinny cowl without a ribbed edging, and a short cowl with a ribbed edging. Of course, you can use the pattern to mix and match these styles to make the Leighton Cowl your very own. For the tier 3, we have the Leighton Hat, and just like all my other hat patterns, it comes in 4 styles: slouchy, which both of these hats are slouchy, and a fitted style. And then of course, it has a brimmed and a brimless option for both of those. As always, the tops of my hats are fitted with decreases, so no bulky extra fabric at the top of your hat. It'll fit your head perfectly. Let's talk about all the gorgeous yarn I used for these patterns. You know that some of my favorite yarn is Malabrigo Rios, and I used Malabrigo Rios for both of my cup cozies. My multicolored cup cozy is in the colorway Anniversario, which is color 005. My neutral gray cup cozy is in the colorway Tormenta, which is color 847. Malabrigo Rios is a worsted weight yarn that has 210 yards per 100 grams. With my hats and my cowls, I made fully coordinating pieces so that they can mix and match, but I'm sure you've noticed that this hat and cowl are in the same yarn. This yarn is Superwash Merino by Plymouth Select in colorway 90, just the most gorgeous shade of springy purple. The worsted merino superwash comes in skeins of 218 yards per 100 grams. This gorgeous cowl and hat are made in hand-dyed yarn by the same dyer. These are both dyed by Montana Crochet. The hat is a one-of-a-kind colorway, and the blue cowl is a yarn of the month. This colorway is called Phillips Bergite, and both colorways have 218 yards per 100 grams. I really enjoy this Plymouth Select yarn. It's super easy to work with. It slides so nicely across the hook and has a really nice, soft, drapey texture. You can see there's lots of play in this fabric, making it really nice to wear. I was so thrilled to be using some yarn that I had hanging around in my craft room for quite a while, waiting for the perfect project. I had actually used this yarn for another project and not really loved how it had worked up in the stitch pattern. There was a lot of unusual color pooling in the previous project I used it for, so I am thrilled that when I took it out of the other project and put it into this one, it worked out just perfectly. I did use 2 skeins for this cowl, and I alternated skeins every other row to make sure to avoid that color pooling. And I'm just so thrilled with how it came out. The combinations of stitches in this pattern make it perfect for hand-dyed yarn. As you can see, it really mixes up where the color is laid, and really just the stitch pattern alone helps avoid unusual color pooling in hand-dyed yarns. All right, let's talk hook sizes. You guys, I have made this so incredibly easy. You need 1 hook size for your cozy, for your hat, and for your cowl. How great is that? Grab yourself a US-H 5mm hook and you'll be good to go for all 3 patterns. Let's talk customization. This cozy, being a simple shape and stitch repeat, means that it is fully customizable. Whether you want it to fit around another bug, or make it into an ice cream cozy, or even put it on a ceramic mug with a handle, it's pretty easily customizable. With a little bit of sense of adventure, you can absolutely make this to fit any cup you'd like. Whenever you work in a fabric with a stitch combination of a very tall stitch and a much shorter stitch, it can be a little challenging to meet gauge. The great news is that with a stitch repeat of 1, both cowls are super easy to customize, both in the height you would like and the circumference you need to fit comfortably around your neck. Lots of tips and tricks are included in the pattern so that you can make a cowl that is perfect for you. While the decreases at the top of the hat make customization a little more challenging, it is still totally doable. Customizing the height of your hat, on the other hand, is super simple. There's a full chart included in the pattern that gives you the height of the different pieces of the hat so that you can make choices to have the perfect size hat for your head. Let's talk styling your Leighton collection. For your cup cozy, I highly recommend a handmade to-go mug like this one, filled with your favorite coffee or tea. Just kidding. I know you know how to use a coffee cozy. So let's be serious and talk about styling your Leighton cowl. The Leighton cowl comes in 2 sizes. A shorter, wider cowl with a rib on the top and the bottom, and a taller, skinnier cowl that doesn't have ribbing. Both of these are super simple to wear, as most cowls are, but I do want to show you a few styling options, especially with the tall and skinny cowl. So let's start with the easy one. For your short cowl that is larger around, I simply take it, put it over my head, and let it fall nicely. I do like to have the bottom ribbing showing, which means I pull it forward a little bit and then slouch down the main body of the cowl so that the ribbing shows on the top as well. If you wanted this to stand up a little more, because this is a nice flowy fabric, you could fold down the top ribbing, which would give you just a little more stability at the top of your cowl and allow the whole thing to stand up a little more on those more chilly days. To style the tall, skinny cowl, I'm going to start by doing the same thing, just putting it over my head. And then this one is super easy to just squish down, and then you can choose to either pull it away from your neck, or if it's chillier, squish it up around so it's nice and cozy and close to your neck. Another way to style this version of the Leighton cowl is by folding it in half. And you can either fold it to the inside, which gives you this really nice sturdy fabric that's double thick to keep you extra warm. Or you can do the same thing, folding the cowl down and out, which you can do at any height to give you just a slightly different look and fit, and then you can easily adjust how much height you want and how much thickness you want around your neck. I've also found it super fun to go ahead and fold the front half of the cowl down quite a bit, and then make it slanted so that the top half of the cowl isn't folded down quite as much. This slanting height allows me to keep the back of my neck super warm, which is great when you have short hair like I do, but also keeps the cowl away from the front of my face, allowing for air circulation and keeping me from overheating. One of my favorite ways to zhuzh up a cowl is with a shawl cuff. They're not just for shawls. I simply take my shawl cuff and wrap it around one part of my cowl. This really brings in one side of the cowl, allowing it to be a little more away from my neck, which on warmer days is just perfect. It's also fun to shift the shawl cuff to the very front of the cowl, and it almost looks like a little bow. I love it. Let's talk about styling your Leighton hat. I ended up making 2 slouchy hats. I'm not gonna lie, I've really been loving a good slouchy hat lately. Let's start by talking about how to style the brimmed slouchy hat. For the brimmed slouchy hat, I'm simply going to place it over the top of my head. I like to keep my brims back on my hair a little bit so that I have my front of my hair sticking out, and then I pull it all the way down, making sure I cover up my ears to stay nice and warm. And then the trick to a slouchy hat and keeping this from sticking up, because I don't know about you, but I'm not cool like the kids. I can't have the top of my hat sticking up. So I just take down here by the brim and I scrunch the hat down. So it looks almost fitted from the front and then has that slouchiness back in the back. I've really grown to enjoy a slouchy hat fit. The other great thing about the brimmed slouchy hat is that you can take that brim and fold it up and then pull the whole hat down, and you've got a double brim and a fitted hat. I love a hat you can wear more than one way. I'd also like to point out that the Leighton hat has 2 ways to finish the very top of your hat. The first way is a more traditional way, working through the final row of stitches to cinch the hat into the center. The second way is to seam across the top of the final row of stitches to give you a little bit of a flat top. Each is unique but super fun to wear, and they can absolutely be mixed and matched among the hat styles. To wear my fully slouchy hat, I'm going to start the same way, putting the edge of the hat right at the front top of my head, pulling it down nice and low to the bottom of my neck, and then taking and just scrunching it down so all that extra bulk lays nicely against the back of my head. Something that's really cool about this fabric is that it's pretty much reversible. So the inside of the fabric looks almost exactly the same as the outside of the fabric. And that means if you wear your slouchy hat and fold it up, you can create a double brim, and both the brim and the hat match. Thank you so much for joining me today to learn about the Leighton Collection. I hope you are as excited to make this gorgeous collection as I am to share it with you. As a little thank you for sticking around to this point in the video, I'd like to share with you a coupon code. You can use the code Texture20 to buy any one of the Leighton patterns and save 20%. If you need more than one of the Leighton patterns, you can use the code COZY25 to save 25% off of 2 or 3 of the Leighton patterns. You can use either of those codes on Ravelry or Etsy, but don't wait too long. The codes are only good March 14th through March 19th. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, like this video, maybe leave a comment below about what color you're thinking you might make your Leighton item in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and happy crafting!